All right, check this out. Some of the people back once again. I'm inspired to do this. I forgot to talk about this actually. Darius, a good friend of mine on YouTube, Shave Lion King. I saw a couple of his shorts recently online, and he was basically talking about this Passport Bro YouTuber being depleted of sexual energy, which is why he can't really hold frame. He doesn't really, can't really coordinate what he's saying. And he just has low energy overall, which I agree with, by the way, because I used to follow this specific travel YouTuber, and it was interesting because, you know, he was like in his 20s, and he excessively uses energy drinks. He uses sex pills, which is kind of insane, by the way, being a 20-year-old. I think it's kind of wild. I got inspired by Darius's content, his shorts, and I'm gonna tag you here, Shaved, because I want you to know that, you know, you still inspire me, honestly, a lot, by the way. I love what you're doing on YouTube. I appreciate everything that you talk about. It inspired me, Shave Lion King, to talk about the Passport Bros as a whole and what they represent for men and what they represent for the trajectory of our society, right? Of men in our society. So like, comment, subscribe. We're gonna get into it right now. So what are the Passport Bros anyway? Passport Bros, I think, is a very interesting concept. It's a whole bunch of guys generally from the West, right? They're from the UK, they're from the US, and they're using their passports, the power of their passports, to go to, hold on. I don't know if you can see them. These guys are using the power of their passports to go to countries that are not doing as well as they are economically, and just basically have their fun. A lot of them have been called sex tourists. A lot of them have just been paying for play. I used to believe in the whole movement because I like the idea of individuals not being static and constant in their own environments, and rather going out to different places and checking out what they are. I think someone that's born in New York should be able to go to Japan and check out what the heck is going on in Japan, right? Granted that they live in Japan and learn the language, integrate with the public, and learn Japanese law, and learn Japanese history, and understand their religion, and understand the yen and all that kind of stuff, right? The same with a lot of these guys that are going to like Latin America, right? These guys have been, you know, they go to Colombia. I don't even think they're really going to Ecuador like that. And I think that we should. Ecuador is a very beautiful country. I had never been, but I've always wanted to go to Quito, Guayaquil, Cuencas, all those places. Then they're going to like places like Colombia, and then they're just basically, they're not learning Spanish, and they're just going after women on a very, very basis level. And I think that and they're doing the same in Thailand, which is interesting because Thailand has a very, very rich history, right? Thai, I think they're mostly Buddhist in Thailand. Buddhists, remember, it's so ironic that a lot of them are going to pay for play, right, in Thailand, when Thailand is one of the most chaste cultures of all. Like, I think they follow Buddhism. Buddha has the Noble Eightfold Path. One of the Eightfold Path is chastity. They don't know that. A lot of the Passport Bros go over there and they don't know that. And of course they practice Muay Thai. Trust me, if you are chaste, your Muay Thai results are going to be phenomenal. That's insane. They're going to Brazil doing the same thing, right? They've become disillusioned with trying to pursue women of the West, which is understandable, right? Because I get it. There's a lot of gynocentric policies that have been passed down in the government. A lot of very, very pro-female rhetoric that's been going on, which basically shows this made-up, fantastical dark side of men that all women should avoid and be careful of, because secretly all men are predators, right? And I can imagine hearing this rhetoric over and over and over and over again will be discouraging and disillusioning to a lot of men. And so they will move over to another place where they want to feel wanted. And understandably, everyone would do that in any situation, male or female. If you are in a situation where you're not feeling seen, you're not being wanted, leave the situation and go to somewhere where you're seen and where you're wanted. The thing is that a lot of the men that are really believing that the grass is greener on the other side, right, without doing any prior research into that land, only getting a lot of what's being said on YouTube from guys that are unevolved, unchecked, unhealed, unstructured, undisciplined, right? It's just the blind leading the blind, and then leading a lot of these guys to do all of this horrible, dark spiritual work with themselves. Because I'm telling you, mixing with the wrong person sexually, you will gain penalties beyond your understanding. I am telling you, I had personal experience with this. I understand this very, very well. So I think that the passport bros as a whole, I think that a lot of these guys are very, very unhealed. They're very, very unchecked, and a lot of them live only for sex. They live only for pleasure. Most passport bros are hedonists. If you look at a lot of, especially in the black YouTube space, right? Recently, speaking about the YouTube space in general, not necessarily black, there was this guy called Redbeard Rants. He was recently kicked out of Colombia, right? And it's crazy to think that you could be banned from a country, but if you look at his history, this guy was holding parties with underage girls. He's always talking on his channel about sex tourism. He's always talking about just sleeping with women and without commitment, which is what the rhetoric is for most of the passport bros. And it's not, I have yet to hear any passport bro that really talks about, or anyone that claims that they're a traveler, really talk about anything besides women, and talk about maybe the economy of that place, places to buy, cheap water or cheap groceries, or places to hang out, or things to do, or I don't hear a lot of this, or I don't see a lot of this on YouTube. Generally, people don't want to see this kind of content. They want to see things that have to do with licentiousness, right? Because people are mostly fallen. They're mostly dark. They don't want to ascend. They don't want to grow. They don't want to develop. And so I understand it, but I don't identify with that mindset at all. At all. The passport bro movement is generally, just to sum up my first point, it's made up of a lot of unhealed, blind, sex-focused men that are leading the blind into the pit with them. They're just, come to Colombia, you can find better women and all this kind of stuff, not understanding that the basis of interest in a lot of these places has to do with the economics. The monthly salary of a person in Colombia, the average monthly salary, is under 1,000 USD. For people in the United States and in the West countries generally that are making way more than that a week, people are going to see you, right, from these countries and try to take advantage of you mostly, right? That's number one about the unhealed group in the passport bros space. Number two, it is a reflection of where we are spiritually. You see, especially here in the West, in a lot of Western countries, I understand why the passport bros have been created, right? I understand why they exist now and why they do what they do. And they do what they do because spirituality is sort of really dead in the United States, and you don't have to be a spiritual person in order to feel this, right? I can go on the train. I'm gonna go on the train. I have boxing today. I had to do boxing class. And so I'm gonna go on the train later. And what's on the train? A lot of people that have their headphones in, they're either watching Facebook Reels, they're either on Twitter, flipping through content, they're either on TikTok, they're either on Instagram, flipping, destroying their dopamine receptors, destroying the frontal lobe of their brain, right? And people could do whatever they want to do with their lives, but this is generally what you see, right? So there's very, very few opportunities to speak to people. When you finally do speak to someone, right, if you have the confidence and frankly the madness to try to tap someone out of their real scrolling stupor and say, hey, listen, that's an interesting addition of headphones you got, or hey, where did you get those sneakers, blah, blah, blah. You try to, you introduce yourself with some line that will have them or pique their interest. And they'll just sort of be incredibly rude to you or just sort of par you off because people just don't like to talk. There's been a lot of gynocratic policies that have been passed in the West where a lot of men have been shown to be enemies or shown to be violent, even though they're expressing their masculine nature in a way that's not very palatable to a lot of people now. You try to talk to someone, you're ignored, right? And so you would go to restaurants and then you go to bars. Usually people hang out after work. Work ends for most people around the world at 5 p.m. You'll see these guys fill up these restaurants at around 6, 6:30, 7, 7:30. And they're all coming together, yelling, drinking alcohol, talking about things in a cyclical fashion, and being very, very loud and boisterous. An outsider, trying to come in, an outsider of a social group, trying to enter in that social group, if they don't drink, they're already not going to be looked at correctly. If you do drink, you try to talk to some of these people, they're still going to give you a little bit of a cold shoulder, right? Because they're not used to really speaking to people that are outside of their friend group, their locus of control. you'll be surprised how many cultures are really like this. It's actually kind of insane. So it is understandable why people decide to get out of the West and go to other places where they feel as if they're going to be accepted, they feel as if they're going to be wanted, and they feel as if they're going to be seen. Everyone in the world deserves to be loved, deserves to be seen, deserves to be appreciated. 100%. I agree with this. 100%. If you can't find it in your place of origin, then you have to look elsewhere. The thing is that a lot of these guys have not really, there are levels and rites of passages within the self that people need to go through in order to understand what it is that they truly want to see in another person when they want to have a social connection with another person. And a lot of people have not spent enough time by themselves in order to figure this out. I've been, like I said, for the past 5 months, we're going on 6 months now. I've been like completely isolated. I mean, of course, granted, I go to work. I work at the restaurant, I work at the office, and so I have like a little bit of socialization there. But when it comes to like this, like my free time outside the office, I'm not hanging out with anyone. I don't get texts from anyone. I'm not on Instagram liking Instagram models and trying to talk to girls on the internet. Like personally, I just don't find that interesting at all. I don't find it compelling. And as someone that's a celibate as well, I'm on semen retention. I don't see any sort of spiritual gain by speaking to licentious, scantily clad women on the internet that have not, passed certain amount of impetuses to have a general, objectively good understanding of life. That's my point of view. A lot of men have not gone through a lot of those steps, a lot of that journey. And when you don't do that, and you're constantly surrounded by other people, right, that placate you and sort of indirectly show you what you think you need, then you become delusional in what you believe you need yourself. And you try to seek that delusion out in other people, and you never find it because that's not what you needed in the first place. A lot of these passport bros have not done that. They have not done that solo work. And they constantly get caught up in like these bad social groups that destroy them, their personality, and they believe the only thing I need to search for are women. I just need sex. I need this. I need drugs. I need constant stimulation. I cannot be still. I cannot be calm. And that's a huge danger. None of the passport bros are gonna speak to you guys about this stuff because it's not popular or it's not rewarding to do so. It's really unfortunate, but it kind of sucks, honestly. So this is the problem. Now, my personal views on traveling to find a better situation. Let me tell you about Eastern Europe. Let me tell you about my experiences in Latin America. Let me tell you about Western Europe, right? I had a very, very good time when I went to Georgia, when I went to Armenia. My forefathers have never stepped on that land ever in their lives. I'm probably the first of my bloodline to have ever gone to Sakartvelo, to have gone to Armenia. And I'm very, very happy about that too. A lot of what I felt when I was driving through the land and getting out at random spots on the roadway and just breathing in the air of another country, of another land where so much has happened, it's therapeutic and cathartic beyond imagination. Seriously, when I was in Serbia, when I was taking the drive, I was rushing. It was a 5-6 hour trip. I was rushing back from Montenegro to Serbia, and there was like these beautiful plots of land and desolation in the middle of nowhere. It was so beautiful that I pulled over the car, just like I said with Armenia, just to step on the grass, touch the grass of Serbia, smell the ground. It was cold, smelling the ground, looking at these the gospodin, like just walk around, looking at me like I was a crazy person because there's no dark-skinned people in Serbia, and I greet them and they greet me back. Like, this is an experience that is unparalleled. Seriously, it fills you with so much euphoria and felicity. It's beyond imagination. And I'm not even a nature guy. I'm not someone that enjoys themselves in nature, right? So I think that when you're trying to be a passport bro, and you're thinking about going into these lands, you need to have a level of understanding within yourself. You have to go through the rite of passage within yourself, being fine with being by yourself and not necessarily going out to seek stimulation of any sort, whether it be drugs, alcohol, or women, right? Or any sort of sexual fun. So for me, I believe that you should, if you are not being seen, or if you first of all, if you feel like you're not being seen or appreciated in your home country, that feeling is going to carry on to another place. And so you got to be careful with that, and you need to spend time with yourself to try to discover the origin and the source of those feelings of personal inadequacy and tackle them and fix them 100%. This is what I believe. Once you have done that, once you have spent a sufficient amount of time tackling those personal issues, then you will go out. Okay, if you feel like you're not seen, then there's more work that needs to be done. If you go out by yourself in another country, you're gonna be fine. And you're not in a state of desperation trying to get people to stimulate you in whatever form. That's what Passport Bros need to do before going overseas. I'm not gonna lie, personally, I love traveling. I love going to foreign lands, I do. There's something about going to another country and that you have never been to, that your forefathers have never been to, and just going into a supermarket and walking around looking at everything on some Zehanor type of stuff. That's serious. It's like something else. Going into a mall, going into a restaurant, going down a village, walking through a park in a foreign country. It is something else, I am telling you. Especially like I said, when I went to Bulgaria, that's my most recent trip. I did Bulgaria, I did, what's the other one? North Macedonia, I did Serbia, I did Kosovo again, Serbia and Kosovo again. And walking through Macedonia, it was like something else. Walking through Plovdiv in Bulgaria was something else, I'm telling you. It was the feelings that I got. I was going to the edges of streets, the ends of streets, like, you know, all the way at the end where it says dead end. You know, the limits of streets. I was trying to talk to people, and it was just an interesting experience. And I know that probably living there, of course, you know, you have the novelty glasses, and that'll wear off if you spend a sufficient amount of time in a place. But there is some magic to going to a place that their forefathers have never been to, and that you've never been to, and staying there for a long period of time and learning the culture and integrating. So I understand the Passport Bros hunt for that. My final message, I think that we need to do, Passport Bros as a whole needs to do a lot more self-reflection. They need to do a lot more self-work. They have to be on seamer retention, because you don't want to be desperate for women abroad, or you don't want to be in a desperate state at all, because that leaves you prone to being manipulated, and no one ever wants to be manipulated, ever. It doesn't work for anyone. So this is my personal advice, guys. I hope you enjoy that kind of content. If you like that kind of content, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you haven't subscribed to the channel. And of course, don't ever let this place get you down. Always explore new environments, always go to new places, always talk to new people. Try to understand this world. A lot of people are stuck in their own ways. They will continue, they are born in a certain culture, they will die within that certain culture without having to explore another culture, because they believe that everything, life and death begins and ends with their specific cultures, when in reality, even though there is some truth to that and there's a lot of similarities between many disparate cultures in the world, it doesn't hurt to try to learn a tongue that is foreign to your own. It doesn't hurt to go to a land that is foreign from your own. It doesn't hurt to get into a culture that is foreign from your own. It never hurt anyone. Explore different worlds. Do not feel stuck in your own culture, in your own environment. Seriously. I love you all, guys. Stay radiant. I'm going to see you guys in the next video. Woo!